So today the World Bank directors meet with their first of three candidates for the new president of the World Bank. They've got three. One is the former Nigerian finance minister, the former Colombian economy minister, and then they have third, of course, Dr. Jim Kim, who is the Dartmouth president. You and I have had slightly different views on this, right, Chris? I mean, I came out with a piece today which said that Dr. Kim might actually be an inspired choice by the Obama administration, largely because he deals with the outcomes rather than the process of development. Now, you in the past have argued that he is the wrong guy because of...
Well, I think normally speaking, knowing anything about poverty has not been a prerequisite for being World Bank chief, which is rather ironic because it's the world's big anti-poverty fighting agency. Normally what they've gone for is a diplomat or particularly a banker, public policy type or a banker.
Right, now, everything but knowing about poverty. If you think about it, they've had 11 presidents, all of them American, with one or two exceptions. One was a congressman. Yeah. The other was the former president of Ford Motor, Robert McNamara. Yes.
And all the defense secretary.
And a former defense secretary. And the other 9 have all been Wall Streeters. I mean, from credits from First Boston, Lazard, and even Zellick, who you might call a career diplomat, has at some point worked for Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, well, I think that at the moment the World Bank is going to face big diplomatic challenges. They had been drifting towards public policy makers such as Zellick, who of course had a largely diplomatic role. He was the US senior trade representative. So this is a rather unusual one, and the decision has become ever more political because emerging nations have really wanted to get their
And when we say
hands
political,
on
we're
this
not
job.
thinking Republicans, Democrats. What we're talking about here is geopolitical.
Geopolitical.
So there are 25 directors in the World Bank. 11 of them come from developing countries. And they're obviously promoting Ocampo and Ngozi's candidacies. The argument I make is, of course, that this is why you can't throw another Wall Street guy out into and say, oh, well, let's put Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, in, precisely because the developing countries would have a pretty easy riposte, wouldn't they?
Well, I think the developing countries have become ever more annoyed that there's this diplomatic carve-up, that the European nations get the International Monetary Fund, the Americans get to
this is all like Bretton Woods. This goes back to
the World Bank chief, and so the Kim is a good compromise to the extent that, first of all, he's not a sort of white-bread American. He was born in Korea, which, although is not currently a poor country, was at some point
a country that in a generation went from developing to developed status.
Yes, of course. And Mr. Kim, obviously, Dr. Kim wasn't actually responsible for that. Of course, it's worth pointing out.
He's been here all his life, really.
But on the one hand, he doesn't have a sort of white-bread American background. On the other hand, he is actually an expert in one branch of poverty reduction, which is the medical side of things. And he's extremely well respected there. When I've been talking to NGO people, this is the organisation that he co-founded is one that actual insiders,
Partners in Health,
tend to donate to, which is quite a compliment.
Right. Okay. Well, look, we'll see what happens. We've got a couple more days, a few interviews to be conducted, and then they'll choose their new president. All right. Let's see where this goes. We'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.